Hello friends, welcome to my video on Avengers Endgame. Thor had a twist in his story in the Endgame. He could not bear the stress and started eating like crazy. 5 years after the decimation and Thanos' death at the hands of Thor, the Thunder God is revealed to be in desperate emotional straits. Though the king of New Asgard, Thor is depicted as having done little for the past few years but eat, drink heavily, and play video games with the alien friends introduced in Thor Ragnarok, Korg and Meek. Regardless of the debate about the character's endgame trajectory and how it was handled, we know now that Hemsworth was excited about it. In an interview with SiriusXM via Express UK, directors Joe and Anthony Russo talked about Chris Hemsworth's reaction to Thor's new direction. Anthony Russo said when they first discussed it with Hemsworth, the actor was either still finishing or had just finished Ragnarok. But he was so energized by the work he had done with Taika in that movie in terms of coming up with a comedic and irreverent Thor. That's when Joe Russo chimed in with, and we were like, wait until you hear what we've got for you. Considering Hemsworth has said he was bored with playing Thor before Ragnarok re-energized his interest, it's a safe bet that if he continues in the MCU, Hemsworth is going to want to keep charting new territory for the Thunder God. To help complete Thor's character arc in this phase of the MCU, arrogant son of privilege, selfless hero, strongest Avenger, hero brought low and reborn, hero suffering from PTSD. The next stage should be redemption before the cycle begins again. The biggest reason, however, in my opinion is that Thor with Stormbreaker at the end of Infinity War could have defeated Thanos by himself. He had the Odin force running through him, and even Thanos waited until Odin had died before beginning his quest for the Infinity Stones. It would not have been much of a match, so Thor had to be deliberately weakened to create more dramatic tension. As a prince of Asgard, Thor let Frigga, his mother, Odin, his father, and the warriors 3 of his dearest friends die. He lost Jane Fonda, his girlfriend, which we learn was more heartbreaking than Ragnarok would have us believe. As the king of Asgard, Thor had to kill his sister. He let Loki, his brother, and Heimdall, his close friend and mentor, die along with half of his people, after realizing that one of the populations he and Odin swore to protect were all killed, including the dwarves of Nidavellir. As the strongest Avenger, he could do nothing more than avenge half the universe by chopping the head off of a severely injured Thanos. What more could he do? What more could he lose? We've seen Thor brood a bit on Earth and Thor when he lost his powers, and we've seen Thor brood a bit on Rocket's escape pod. We have a king who realizes he is not a king, a warrior who isn't strong enough to save what he cares about, and a man that has completely given up. It was definitely a brilliant and bold move by the Russos to portray Thor as this person who had given up physically and mentally after the Avengers' defeat. Thor in Infinity War was able to defeat a Thanos who had all 6 Infinity Stones. He could overpower him with Stormbreaker. We could even say because of that Thor was the most powerful being in the universe at the time. At the end of Infinity War, he clearly overpowers Thanos' Infinity Gauntlet beam with Stormbreaker and manages to drive the battle axe through the Titan, though, arguably, one can point out that Thanos was taken by surprise by Stormbreaker. Evidently, here Thor is extremely powerful and the writers needed a way to make him less powerful, hence we end up with a Thor that's an overweight drunk, and psychologically damaged and nowhere near the great god of thunder we saw at the end of Infinity War and even at the beginning of Endgame. Else, if we had a Thor at full power, in his prime form, he could have easily dispatched of Thanos in the final fight. There is another angle to it. Many think it was simply fat shaming, and many criticized it. Not everyone thought Fat Thor was a big issue when it came to Avengers Endgame. In fact, some people thought it was an accurate portrayal of an individual who had gone through a traumatic event. Thor lost many of his close friends. He was grieving. Many people eat and drink when they're going through a difficult time as a way to cope. Because Thor was still overweight at the end of the movie and hadn't magically regained his six-pack physique, it has been suggested that the movie did the opposite of fat shaming. Instead, they showed that you can still be a hero without having to fit the stereotype of one. Marvel has showcased some unforgettable moments in their movies throughout the years. Is Thor's transformation one of them, or did it take fat shaming too far? Enough for now. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel. See you soon.